Welcome to TrainSignal. You're watching a lesson on implementing high availability for server virtualization. In this lesson, we're going to start off by introducing you to something called failover clustering. Then we're going to revisit something that we've talked briefly about earlier in the course, and that's called live migration. And then we'll wrap things up by talking about implementing high availability with the Virtual Machine Manager. Now, one thing I'd like to mention before we get into this at all is that when it comes to high availability basically means keeping your stuff running, right? In other words, make sure that you don't have downtime just because something failed. Well, I can tell you that that in itself is one of the benefits of virtualization. Okay? There are some places that consider high availability to be nothing more than having two copies of a virtual machine, one that's actually live and running, and another one which is ready to go on a moment's notice. In other words, in the old days, we used to have something called a hot spare or a cold spare, which was another physical computer, another physical server that was ready to be implemented in the event that the first one failed. Okay, so rather than having your server fail and then you try troubleshooting it and then you realize, well, this thing is toast, I'm not getting it back, so now I need to order a computer and I got to wait for it to get to me. Oh, I'm going to have to pay a lot for shipping because I want it overnighted. And you see where I'm going with this? That's how things were done, and the way they got around that was by having a spare, right? They'd have a second computer which was already configured and ready to go in the event that the first one failed. Well, virtualization made this concept very easy, because rather than having to run out and spend thousands of dollars on another physical computer to have sitting in a closet somewhere, all they have to do is spin up an additional virtual machine. And as we've seen in this course, with the use of things like the VMM library, you can have that machine stored in a place that's very easy to get to and can very quickly have their new server up and running. Okay, so that's what some organizations consider to be highly available, okay, or high